we had this conversation, right? We were looking ahead, what the Cowboys must know moving forward. And Osa was one of our topics of conversation. And the question was, or what have you, discussion was, the Cowboys need to know if Osa is worth bringing back for them. Because Osa is going to get paid by somebody, whether it's here or whether it's outside the Dallas Cowboys. He's going to get paid. He was trending in that direction. He already has that talent. He's in his physical peak. He's in his prime of his career. He's one of those young veteran types, right? He plays a premium position, a pass rushing defensive tackle. I figured he was going to get paid in general. But what you really wanted to see from Osa from a personal standpoint is, because he's always shown he can play from the rip, from day one, Osa showed he could play. But over the years, you kind of saw him get worn down, being 285 or whatever it may be. He's a smaller 3-tech, but he's a baller. He can play. So he was getting worn down. And you're looking at this year, not a whole lot of defensive tackle help from a depth standpoint. So Osa was going to play a lot more snaps. Well, he's actually pushing through all that worn stuff, right? Wearing down, wear and tear stuff. He's increasing his play. He's increasing his production. Pressures are going up. Now he has 5 sacks. He's making plays. He's always made plays in the run game, but he's making them more consistently. I'm just saying, Osa, they're going to have a conversation. I love the player. I just don't know if the Cowboys are going to be willing to compete for him in free agency. And he is the prototype example of where draft and develop for a Cowboy team, maybe not for any other team, but for a team that operates the way they operate. He's the typical draft and develop product that can backfire on you. What do you mean backfire? This guy, he's a good player. Because I say this often, when you lean and rely on drafting and developing and not adding quality or high-end veterans via, the free agency department, what happens is these guys aren't going to be these hump type players right away. There's only so many Micah Parsons that you're going to get where they are undoubtedly one of the best in the game right now, right? Sometimes it takes a couple years. And Osa's a 3rd round pick. It usually takes 3rd round picks sometime. So now Osa is hitting his contract year where he's playing the best ball of his life, but oh snap. You've got to decide whether to pay him or not. He's not an all-pro. He's not a Pro Bowler, but he's a quality piece that you've got to decide to either let walk or pay and start the process all over again if you do let him walk. So he's going to be very interesting to watch over the next, or once the season's over, to see what the Cowboys do, especially because we brought this up before. This defensive tackle room is already thin. It's already a position that you still have to address, even with Mazi Smith improving, right, and showing signs of development. It's still not a position you say, I've seen Mazi play good 3-4 games to end the season, I don't have to address it. No. You still need to address that position. So if you let him walk, you are now only with Mazi Smith and Darnell Jackson, I believe it is, on the practice squad. This is going to be really interesting. Also, you have to figure the new defensive coordinator, if there is one. The Mikes could all return, but if there is a new defensive coordinator, do they want Osa Odighizuwa? Do they say, you know what, nice piece for those prior, but not for me. I want to go draft this guy. I want to go sign this guy or trade for this guy. So he's going to be a really interesting case study over the next few months of this whole draft and develop, because we've seen them do this before. Byron Jones, draft, develop, turn into a Pro Bowler, they let walk, right? Connor Williams, draft, develop, let walk. Chidobe Awuzie, draft, develop, let walk. There's a couple of these guys that, it's happened. They haven't signed back, and some of them have went on to have quality careers outside of the organization. And some of them rightfully so. You say, yeah, we're not going to pay them, but then goes back to that problem. Well, yeah, you're not going to pay them because they haven't been good enough for you. Thus, if they haven't been good enough for you to pay, you could argue this isn't working. because you need those second and third round picks to be on multiple year contracts and deserve to be back on multiple year contracts, right? So this is going to be really interesting to see Osa Odighizuwa and how this plays out. It's going to be fun. So those are my guys, Cowboys Nation. There's many others you can put on here. Like I said, I often don't include everybody because I like to see who else you guys have on here. Well, Miss Jackie, so was Byron Jones, so was Cheeto, so was, there's a lot of guys that are their guys that they didn't re-sign. And how often do you see them shelling out big money for guys that aren't the Pro Bowl types that are their guys? Now, if they can get Osa back on a Dorrance Armstrong deal, sure, 100%. But I don't believe, Miss Jackie, that Osa Odighizuwa is going to hit free agency and get a 2-year, $12 million type deal. No, sir. No, sir. Again, he plays a premium position and he's playing good ball, putting out good tape, and he has 4 years of quality tape. So I would be shocked if Osa Odighizuwa isn't one of the higher paid defensive tackles that hit free agency. That's why this is interesting, because it's not a Dorrance Armstrong. It's not a Randy Gregory. We can get him back on cheap because he's a head case. It's not, unless they put the franchise tag on. You know what I mean? This is a guy that to the outside world, they're going to view him as a player they'll pay some money to. But will Dallas want to match? That'll be interesting.